Join Alto Goldfield, a diligent student at Ortigia Academy, as he unlocks his potential by summoning the powerful demon Vermeil. Witness their journey filled with magic, mystery, and hidden secrets. In the Ortigia Royal Academy of Magic, a boy named Alto Goldfield finds out he has failed his summoning exam and is told that if he doesn't form a contract with a familiar by the next day, he'll be held back a grade and will have to repeat the year. Alto runs into his childhood friend, Lilia Kudofat, who is shocked by the fact that he might be held back even though he has perfect scores in all his other classes. Alto tells her he has until the next day to try again and goes to the library for help, where a book falls off the shelf and hits him on the head. Surprised, he realizes it's an old summoning book and takes the book home and follows the ritual described in it. The summoning spell works and Alto offers his blood. The summoning is successful and a naked demon girl named Vermeil appears. They make a contract and Vermeil kisses him to drain his mana. She tries to seduce him, but he turns her down and embarrassingly makes her put on some clothes. Alto is confused about why a demon would want to serve him as a familiar, considering demons in history have always harmed humans. So she explains that she was trapped in the book and will serve him out of gratitude for freeing her. The next day, Alto introduces Vermeil to his teacher as his summon, and she hides her horns and tail to look human. At first, the teacher doesn't believe Vermeil is his familiar since there are no records of humans being familiars, but when Vermeil shows her familiar crest, the teacher has no choice but to accept her and pass Alto. Lilia watches from a distance and feels jealous of Vermeil. During class, Vermeil naughtily teases Alto, so the teacher informs them that this isn't allowed. However, Vermeil remarks that many students have their familiars with them and tells her the school's rule about living with your familiar, surprising Lilia. After class, Lilia tells Alto she doesn't like Vermeil and challenges them to a duel. If Lilia wins, Vermeil will stay away from Alto. If Alto wins, Lilia will follow one of his commands. They go up to a platform in the sky, and their duel is shown to all the other students as Lilia summons her familiar Sylphid, a high-class wind spirit aide, uses her wind magic to launch a strong attack at Alto. Vermeil steps in front of Alto and directly takes the attack, but it's revealed that she's unharmed when the smoke clears. She then uses magic to make Lilia so aroused that she gives up, but since Alto wins, he asks Lilia to be friends with Vermeil. Later, Vermeil tells Alto that Lilia is in love with him, but he doesn't believe her. She kisses him to restore her mana, saying she needs to do this or she will vanish, and teasingly remarks that there are better ways to get mana, but he hurriedly says he's fine with kissing. The next day, the other students notice Alto and Vermeil as they walk to school, so he asks her to not do anything that stands out. Suddenly, a dragon starts causing havoc and rushes towards them, but Vermeil effortlessly flicks it away into the sky, remarking that it wasn't a problem. Later in an assembly, the headmaster greets the students for their second year as Alto tells Vermeil that no human could send a dragon flying with a flick to its forehead and notices the other students staring at them. Later, Lilia tells Alto that everyone's talking about him and Vermeil because of the rampaging dragon they sent flying. After their classes, Lilia says she's walking home with them, since Alto told her to be friends with Vermeil. Suddenly, the owner of the dragon from before and his elder brother Rex stop them and believe Vermeil must have used some sort of trick since she doesn't look strong at all. Alto sneaks up behind them and traps them in a crystal prison. So Vermeil acknowledges that he's pretty talented for his age. Enraged, Rex asks if they think this is enough to defeat him and summons his intimidating dinosaur. He commands his familiar to attack, but Vermeil enhances Alto's mana, enabling him to cast a more powerful crystal magic attack that defeats Rex. Once home, Vermeil asks Alto about what he wants to do. She offers to make him wealthy, but he reveals he wants to become a great mage and explains that mages are ranked as apprentice, bronze, silver, and gold, but his goal is to achieve the highest platinum rank. Vermeil approves and vows to help him reach his dream. The next day, Alto, Vermeil, and Tendelia meet their friends Marx and Cheryl. Marx, from a noble family, is impressed by Alto defeating a fifth-year student and considers him a rival before their teacher informs them that the headmaster wishes to see them. The headmaster announces a special trial to determine the student representative. Whoever retrieves a fairy flower from the forest will earn the title, so Marx excitedly summons his familiar, a beetle named Frankios, and quickly heads off. Marx is attacked by a man-eating plant, and Cheryl stays behind to assist him. The rest continue their search and spot the flower on top a mountain, guarded by a sleeping Cerberus. Lilia plans to use an invisibility potion to sneak past the Cerberus, but Alto worries about the Cerberus's sense of smell, so she explains it has a cold, so she should be safe. She drinks the potion and becomes invisible, though her clothes remain visible. Nervously, Lilia realizes she must strip to stay hidden, despite her embarrassment in front of Alto. As Lilia approaches the Cerberus, Alto remembers that this is supposed to be a competition, and Vermeil offers to defeat the Cerberus, but requires more mana. Lilia tries to sneak past, but a healthy head detects her, so he distracts the Cerberus, urging Lilia to grab the flower. As the Cerberus charges at Alto, Vermeil steps in with her demonic powers, causing a massive explosion. Lilia seizes the flower and returns to the group, but decides to give up and offers the flower to Alto, but her invisibility wears off, causing her to drop the flower in embarrassment, and it gets blown to Cheryl, who wins. As they're walking back, Lilia vows to not lose again, and Alto promises to work hard as well. As they head to school, Vermeil happily tastes a crepe for the first time, since she hadn't eaten modern food due being sealed. The students watch a formation of dragons flying overhead, admiring the leader, Chris. Vermeil asks Alto about them, and he explains that they are the Dragon Riders, the same club Rex is part of. At school, they meet up with Marx, Cheryl, and Lilia, where Marx talks about how incredible Chris is. Chris is not only the leader of the Dragon Riders, but also an executive on the student council, and one of says he wants to be like the student council president, who is nearly platinum rank. Vermeil reassures him it's possible, while playfully suffocating him. Lilia quickly intervenes, pushing Vermeil away, and they argue over Alto as usual. After class, Lilia tells Cheryl about how frustrated she is with Vermeil in the changing room. She doubts Vermeil's human, remembering how easily she defeated the Cerberus, something even a gold-ranked mage can't do. She vows to uncover Vermeil's secrets before Cheryl, sensing Lilia's feelings for Alto, encourages her to confess. Meanwhile, in the boys' changing room, Vermeil creates a scene by following Alto, embarrassing him. Alto urges them to not stand out to avoid trouble with the student council, but Vermeil isn't worried and declares that she can just beat them all and help Alto become gold ranked quickly. As they walk, the student council appears, and the three quickly steps aside, but Chris glares at Vermeil, curious about her identity. Later, Vermeil sneaks into Alto's shower and tries to seduce him again. Rex gets beaten up by Chris when she learns he lost to Alto, ashamed to have him in the Dragon Riders because his familiar is a dinosaur, not a dragon. She expels him. Alto hears that Rex is in the infirmary and visits him. Rex's brother blames Alto for Rex's expulsion, and Alto realizes what happened to him. Later, Alto and Vermeil head to the platform where they face Chris. She offers Alto a chance to back out of the duel, but he is determined to fight. Chris summons her dragon familiar, so Vermeil increases Alto's mana, and he launches a crystal attack, which impresses Chris. However, she stops it with a single blast of her magic and fires again, forcing Vermeil to block the attack. Vermeil sustains some damage, but it is otherwise fine, so Chris unleashes a barrage of fireballs, which Vermeil manages to block. Alto tries to counterattack with his crystals, but Chris shatters them all. She admits she's impressed by Alto's skill and Vermeil's defense, so Vermeil gives Alto even more power, allowing him to launch a massive crystal barrage at Chris. The attack causes a huge explosion, and Alto believes it's over, but Chris appears once again, riding her dragon. She declares that dragons are the ultimate beings and superior to all others, and rains fireballs down on them, so Vermeil hurriedly shields Alto and tells him to build up his mana. Determined to prove Chris wrong, she charges Alto once more, and they fire a powerful crystal attack at Chris. Chris shatters the crystals but loses track of Alto. Using the shards, Vermeil jumps up to Chris, and before Chris can react, Alto holds a crystal to her throat, winning the duel. The students cheer for Alto, making him popular with the girls. Much to Lilia's increasing jealousy, Professor Obsidian appears and advises Alto not to take duels lightly. He congratulates him and leaves, followed by the girls. Alto asks Lilia if she likes him too, but she is offended. Chris meets Rex and surprises him by doing her own chores. She apologizes to him, shocking Rex, who takes over the chores, and they make up with each other. That night, Vermeil tries to seduce Alto again, but he says kisses should be for someone you love. She then declares that she loves him, shocking Alto. The next day, Alto is anxious while Vermeil looks refreshed, and he blushes upon remembering what she said. He visits Professor Obsidian and asks if demons can love humans, but Obsidian reveals that demons only want humans for their mana. At dinner, Alto confronts Vermeil, asking if she loves him just for his mana. Vermeil reassures him by kissing him without draining his mana, and tells him to try kissing her, but he can't. The next day, Alto feels better and apologizes to Professor Obsidian for his strange question. Obsidian is happy to see that he's fine now, and later meets a female student in private. She confesses her love for him, and he embraces her, holding a suspicious syringe. The girl is later found frozen in her room, left in a coma. Rumors spread about the incident, and the student council investigates, so the vice president Ryuga Shinuji and executive Jessica Schwartz reveal this is the third such incident. Meanwhile, Alto measures Vermeil for a class report about their familiars, so she undresses for the measurement while Lilia's familiar spies on them. Lilia, outside with Cheryl, hears the report from her familiar and is outraged. She hurriedly uses an invisibility potion and a copy of Alto's key to sneak into the boys' dorm. She quickly leaves her clothes with Cheryl and sneaks into Alto's room, where he walks right past her, causing her to panic, but he just grabs a book. While searching, he accidentally touches Lilia, leaving her stunned. Alto completes his report, listing that the things Vermeil likes are crepes, but Vermeil adds his name to the list as well. Meanwhile, Chris and her dragon are defeated by a possessed Rex and his mutated dinosaur. In a flashback, Rex is delighted when he first summons his familiar from an egg, drawing the attention of a young Chris. They bond over it and become friends. In the present, Alto and Vermeil are grocery shopping. Vermeil wants to buy sweets, but he reminds her they're short on money. Disappointed, Vermeil throws a tantrum on the floor, so he hurriedly agrees to buy her one dessert, which makes her ecstatic. She hugs and kisses him, embarrassing Alto as she confusingly realizes she didn't drain his mana. They're suddenly interrupted by Rex's brother, who desperately asks for help. Meanwhile, Chris continues to battle Rex, using fireballs against him. There's a massive explosion, but Rex survives and begins to mutate. He summons a rock pillar and throws Chris into the air while taunting her. Chris wearily asks him to stop before Alto and Vermeil arrive, urging Rex to release her. Ignoring them, Rex turns his focus on Alto for their previous duel. Alto rushes to help Chris, while Vermeil senses something familiar about Rex's power. Rex summons his mutated familiar, and Alto's hand glows as Vermeil prepares a fight. Suddenly, the student council president Elena arrives with her sword familiar and swiftly slashes Rex and his mutated dinosaur, incapacitating them. Elena checks on Chris, disappointed in herself for not stopping Rex sooner, as he desperately tries to get up but collapses from his injuries. Chris rushes to his side as he loses consciousness, and Vermeil looks curious about his powers. But when questioned by Elena, she says she doesn't know anything. The student council discusses this as the fifth incident involving student comas, suspecting someone's using drugs or black magic before Chris frustratingly walks away, leaving Jessica confused about her attachment to Rex. Meanwhile, Alto and Lilia learn about their upcoming bronze rank exam. Alto is distracted, but Lilia reminds him that it's really important for them. Vermeil decides to return to the dorm, feeling tired since they're running with Rex, and Alto worries about how she's been behaving recently before Lilia takes the opportunity to study alone with him. On her way back to the dorm, Vermeil encounters Professor Obsidian, who pleasantly asks if Alto isn't with her. remarking that they haven't talked to each other before. She narrows her eyes and asks if he did it. He asks what she means, so she tells him that he doesn't need to bluff since she can sense the low-tier demon clinging to him. As she starts walking away, she says what he's doing to the other students is none of her business, but she would recommend him to stop since it's just too much power for one man to handle. He asks if she's going to tell Alto about him, but she says she just wanted to warn him. It's fine if he wants to do it. She angrily swivels around and warns him that she will rip him and his soul to shreds if he lays a finger on Alto. He maliciously realizes she's a demon and admits his demon must be inferior to her. As she's leaving, a paper doll suddenly appears and Obsidian injects her with his syringe, remarking that low tier is well worth it because now he can obtain the real thing. She pushes him away but begins to feel pain and emits dark energy as he menacingly watches her struggling. Meanwhile, Alto and Lilia study together when Alto suddenly feels a sharp pain and his hand glows. Outside, a massive explosion occurs and the students notice the huge surge of dark energy. Elena rushes to the scene but finds a paper doll blocking her path, so she slices it, but it regenerates and transforms into a creature that challenges her. She fiercely tries battling it, but it keeps regenerating while Vermeil transforms into an unstoppable winged demon. Obsidian cheerily watches as she unleashes a devastating wave of energy with a single swing of her arm. As Alto rushes to find her, Obsidian wraps chain around Vermeil's neck with his magic before Alto and Lilia arrive. He demonstrates his control over Vermeil and forces her to kneel as Alto watches in shock. Obsidian maliciously declares that he was the one behind the attacks and injected people with demon essence to transform them. Fearing the loss of Vermeil, Alto goes into a fit of rage and a surge of energy emanates towards Vermeil. Suddenly she breaks free from the chain and moves to attack Obsidian, but Alto intervenes and is accidentally impaled by her claws. He suddenly loses blood from his wounds, triggering a flashback to when Vermeil was sealed away in darkness until she met him. As Alto collapses, Vermeil transforms into a more ferocious form and tries to attack Obsidian again, but Alto stops her and comforts her before she tearfully reverts to her normal state. He collapses, shocking Lilia before Vermeil kisses Alto, healing the wound in his chest. Obsidian hurriedly panics and injects himself with his formula, transforming into a monstrous demon. He declares that this is his ultimate creation after consuming numerous lower-level demons since he wanted to overpower Vermeil and absorb her power. He launches a drill punch, but Vermeil retaliates with a powerful blow that obliterates half of his body. Shocked, he abandons his physical form to escape, but Chris arrives on her dragon and blasts Obsidian, while Vermeil rushes towards him and delivers a final punch that sends him crashing down with his demonic form disappearing. Alto wakes up, and Lilia tearfully sees that he's fine. The creature Elena fought retreats, vowing to meet again, while Vermeil apologizes to Alto for hurting him, but he reassures her, grateful for her healing and the fact that she defeated Obsidian. Vermeil sadly reveals that to save Alto, she replaced his destroyed heart with a demon heart, linking their life forces, ensuring that if one dies, so will the other. Shocked, Alto realizes that Vermeil as a demon could have lived forever and been an immortal. Later, Obsidian is arrested, while Rex wakes up from his coma with Chris by his side, and the other affected students also recover. Later, Alto and Vermeil kiss, now bound by the need for Vermeil's mana to sustain Alto's heart, but she unexpectedly begins to act distant, so Alto asks her why she doesn't want to stay by him. She explains that her monstrous form is her true nature, warning him to fear and stay away from her, so he passionately says he loves her and kisses her, surprising Vermeil. He declares that he doesn't love her and that they will be together forever, which she agrees to, leaving Alto flustered as he hurriedly runs away. Confused, she suddenly remembers how Alto said, "You should only kiss someone you love," and embarrassingly realizes he loves her. The next day at school, the girls as well as the boys are deep in mourning for Professor Obsidian, and someone asks why Vermeil has been absent from class, so Alto explains that she hasn't been well lately. Lilia confronts Vermeil about her true identity as a demon, so Vermeil apologizes for not telling them the truth and says she regrets causing Alto's injury, but Lilia reassures her that she doesn't view her as evil and believes in her genuine feelings for Alto. Lilia comforts Vermeil, trusting Alto to manage any potential issues if Vermeil struggles to control herself again. Vermeil returns to Alto's room apologizing once more, but Alto is relieved she's feeling better, and they make up with each other with a kiss. The next day, Vermeil receives a school uniform, though it doesn't quite fit her properly, seeing which, Alto panics, feeling embarrassed but ultimately happy that she's back to attending classes with him. Meanwhile, in a church surrounded by bodies, Helio, a platinum-level witch, and Iolite, an ex-platinum warlock, meet. Using a paper doll to communicate, Iolite talks down on Obsidian for failing, but admits she's interested in his research. A priest tries to attack him, but a centaur familiar swiftly takes him down. Back at school, the boys blushingly ogle at Vermeil in her school uniform and thank Alto, declaring that he's a real genius, and admitting they never thought their eyes would be blessed with the sigh of Vermeil in a uniform. Vermeil takes Alto into a corner and kisses him, after which they return to class, but the student council arrives and takes Alto and Vermeil into custody. In the student council room, Alto inwardly vows to protect Vermeil if the student council has found out she's a demon, and asks what they need. Firstly, Elena apologizes for not helping them during their fight with Obsidian, and asks for information about the incident since they are unable to ask Obsidian for details because he's escaped. Relieved, Alto agrees to help them before Elena asks if he's hiding something from them. A girl, Jessica, presses a blade at his throat and tells him to choose his next words carefully. So Alto reveals that Vermeil is a demon and that their lives are linked. The council members are shocked, but Alto defends Vermeil, insisting she's not evil and vowing to protect her at any cost. Jessica fears Vermeil could potentially be dangerous, but Elena trusts Alto and decides to protect their secret, assuring Jessica that she merely needs to behead Alto if something happens. She then asks Alto if he wants to join the executive committee of the student council. Alto asks if she wants him on the council just to keep an eye on him, so Elena says he can see it that way if she wants, but she truly wants him on the council, since he did, after all, defeat Chris, one of the top 5 most powerful mages in this institution. Alto accepts the offer, and Marx and Lilia congratulate him after learning about it. Alto becomes increasingly concerned now that more people are aware of Vermeil's true identity and decides to become stronger to better protect her. Vermeil warns him to be cautious around the student council, since she's suspicious about Elena being a human. The next day, Alto attends his first council meeting, but accidentally walks in on the girls changing clothes and hurriedly coves his eyes. Jessica is alarmed and declares that she doesn't want a boy as shameless as him on the council, but Elena dismisses it, explaining that they were the ones at fault for not locking the door. During the meeting, she shows them a fragment of a creature she fought, so Chris tries to analyze it, but Elena reveals that even a team of gold-level mages couldn't decipher its advanced magical formula, realizing their enemy operates at the platinum level. Meanwhile, Iolite and Helio meet with Kohaku, the platinum mage who commands the creature. They discuss supplying her with demon parts for her experiments, with Iolite complaining about the difficulties involved in obtaining these parts, especially dealing with the high priest, whom he admits to having killed. Kohaku is displeased by the news, and Iolite takes his leave and informs Helio that they plan to target Alto and Vermeil next. Alto has a bad dream of a young Vermeil crying in a devastated city and meets a woman in his dream who gives him a choice: help humanity or save Vermeil from destruction. Shocked, he shakily wakes up and focuses on his studies, worried about his upcoming bronze exam. Vermeil tries to reassure him, but Alto feels the pressure from the council, especially from Chris. She helps Alto prepare for the exam, boosting his mana with a kiss. The next day, Alto gathers his things for the exam and notices the book that once sealed Vermeil away, which makes him wonder who sealed her and reflect on his dream. As they head off for the exam, Lilia encourages him, and at the examination hall, Alto and the other students from their prestigious academy stand out. They find out that there's a practical exam involving a large crystal ball with a flame inside as the examiner explains that the purpose of this test is to measure their mana by strengthening the flame. Some students happily remark that it sounds kinda easy, but Alto believes I can't be that simple, so Vermeil comfortingly lays a hand on her shoulder. The first student is called up but isn't able to strengthen the flame. The next student, accompanied by a strong-looking bear familiar, is up next but also fails to strengthen it. When it's Lilia's turn, she confidently strengthens the flame, focusing on the flame rather than the crystal, impressing the examiner. However, one of the other students is unimpressed and strengthens the flame as well. After that, Cheryl passes the test, while Marcus barely manages to scrape through. Finally, it's Alto's turn, accompanied by Vermeil, so he carefully examines the crystal and deduces that it's easier to channel mana from behind. This impresses the examiner, who recognized Alto's knowledge of the true nature of the test, evaluating the student's ability to understand and manipulate magical formulas. Encouraged by Vermeil, Alto decides to demonstrate his skills and goes for the most challenging position to supply mana. He pours his mana into the crystal, causing a huge flame to turn silver. The examiners watch in shock as he continues to amplify the flame until the crystal cracks and shatters completely. Alto feels embarrassed for breaking the crystal, but to his surprise, the examiner informs him that he has passed with full marks. Celebrating with his friends, he learns from the examiner that breaking the crystal would have been a challenge even for a platinum level mage. After a lunch break, Alto worries about the upcoming written exam, so Marcus reveals his secret weapon, a six-sided pencil that helped him get admitted to the academy. Lilia wonders if anyone has ever achieved a perfect score on the exam, and Cheryl mentions that only one person has ever achieved perfect scores up to the platinum level. Encouraged by Vermeil, Alto prepares for the exam with his friends before she takes him aside to replenish his mana, nearly making him late. As Alto heads to the exam, he meets a student from Roots, the other school. In the bathroom, the student complains about Alto showing off during the practical exam before Iolite suddenly appears behind him. The student dismisses Iolite and tries to leave, but ends up being fatally injured, bleeding out and collapsing. Iolite takes the student's test ticket and sneaks into the exam in his place. Alto rushes to the exam hall just in time, but familiars are not allowed inside, so Vermeil wishes them luck and stays behind. He heads in alone and takes his seat before Iolite sits beside him and wishes him luck. Vermeil waits outside, feeling bored, and overhears discussions about the difficulty of the upcoming test, but she's confident in Alto's abilities. Inside, Alto determinedly begins the exam, but he gets distracted and notices Ionite has fallen asleep. Despite this, he tries to concentrate on the challenging questions, which are tougher than previous years. Eventually, Iolite wakes up and quickly completes the test, taunting Alto for how slow he is before the examiner tells them that talking isn't allowed, but Iolite doesn't care, remarking that no one will be able to finish the exam anyway. Suddenly, a guard bursts in, reporting they've found a dead student's body that Iolite had killed earlier, and the examiner realizes Ionite is the only one who hasn't been accounted for. He suddenly summons a massive stone golem into the exam hall, casually revealing he took the test for fun and now targets Alto. The professor tries to intervene but is swiftly taken down by the golem as Alto realizes she's connected to obsidian. The previous examiner hurriedly returns and saves the professor from the golem's attack. Vermeil bursts through a window, launching a demonic magic attack that the golem effortlessly deflects. The examiner identifies Iolite as the youngest mage to become a platinum rank. Lilia suddenly gets forced out since the students are being evacuated, so she tries to return to help Alto, only to find the building sealed by Helios' warp magic to prevent anyone from interfering. Iolite enhances his golem with cannons and continues attacking. Alto and Vermeil attack together, but the golem unleashes devastating blasts that destroy the building's structure. As Vermeil gets captured, Alto's golden mana furiously rushes out, so he launches a powerful strike and obliterates it. He angrily transforms himself into a heightened state of strength, vowing to protect Vermeil at any cost. Iolite summons more golems, but Alto effortlessly takes them out, surprising Iolite with his newfound strength. He furiously rushes towards Iolite, who counters with his knight and stabs him. Despite this, Alto questions what she wants to do to Vermeil, learning that he plans to take advantage of her demonic powers to destroy the world. As Iolite prepares to finish Alto off, Vermeil's sealed book suddenly rises into the air and opens, revealing the woman Alto saw in his dream. Realizing it's the memory of the ancient mage who sealed Vermeil, she stops Iolite's attack, freezes time, and sending Alto into Vermeil's memories from 550 years ago when he sees a young Vermeil happily running, holding a flower crown in her hands. The ancient mage explains that Vermeil was raised by a nun alongside other orphans, forming a closer family where Vermeil was happy despite knowing she was a demon. One day, when the townspeople discovered her true nature, they blamed her for a devastating plague sweeping the country, and an angry mob barged into the church where Vermeil and her family lived. Her sister hurriedly urged Vermeil to flee, and she almost escaped the town, but upon overhearing that her family was going to get executed, she desperately hurried back to stop them. Unfortunately, she arrived too late to save them, and saw that her entire family had been hanged. Overwhelmed with grief and rage, Vermeil transformed into her demonic form for the first time, unleashing her powers and inadvertently causing the town to be consumed by fire, leaving only a massive crater. Seeing Alto's shocked expression, the mage explains that this was Vermeil's crime and the reason she was ultimately sealed away. Moved by Vermeil's history, Alto reaches out to comfort her, and Vermeil transforms into her adult form and tearfully admits that her actions can never be undone. However, Alto reassures her, declaring that he doesn't care about her past and will always support her. They kiss each other, breaking Vermeil's chains, after which they return to the real world, and Alto confesses that he loves her and promises to stay by her side forever. Vermeil breaks free from Iolite's binding magic, surprising him before he summons another golem and merges it with his knight, declaring that Vermeil's sole purpose is to bring about destruction. Alto angrily interrupts him and declares that Iolite doesn't truly understand Vermeil. Together, Alto and Vermeil combine their powers and launch a crystal attack, and their combined force overwhelms the golem's attack, shattering it to pieces. Seeing their strength, Iolite becomes more serious and prepares to unleash his magic, but before he can act, Helio appears through a portal, informing him that she can't maintain the space warp for much longer. Disappointed, but without other options, Iolite retreats through the portal, vowing to return one day to finish what he started. The mage of the beginning reappears, surprising Alto, and affectionately refers to Vermeil as a dear friend. She encourages Alto to take care of Vermeil and bids them farewell, restoring the damaged building before vanishing. Lilia rushes to Alto, relieved to see him safe, and he later dedicates himself to becoming stronger to protect Vermeil. He trains in fencing and martial arts with Jessica and Chris. At night, Vermeil thanks Alto for accepting her and confesses her love for him before they hug each other. During a student council meeting, Elena says it's important for them to protect the students and work together to prevent further attacks, despite the challenge of facing platinum mages. Lilia, Marcus, and Cheryl celebrate passing their exams, but Lilia realizes Alto's disappeared with Vermeil again. Meanwhile, Vermeil takes Alto into a corner and they happily kiss.